I'm sitting outside one of my favorite places here in Mae Sot. This is the Braverly Cafe. I had plans to sit on the inside, but there are a couple of people in there quietly reading a book and working, and I didn't want to disturb them by babbling into the GoPro. So I ordered a cafe latte, and I came out here to their, quite comfortable outdoor seating. I got some traffic going by, but that's okay. I can deal with that. What I wanted to do actually was just sort of go through a lot of the comments that people left when they were trying to guess what I'm going to do this week in Mae Sot, and just talk about some of the suggestions people made. In a way, it's a little bit like a, almost like a live stream, because you asked me, in a way you're asking me questions, and I'm going to reply to those, and I'll post this video today, in fact. After I'm done here, I'll go back to my guest house and put together the video and post it right away. Of course, the very first comment has to come from our winner, ModK, and he said, "My prompt answer is renting a scooter and going to a waterfall." And as I talked about earlier on, that is the right answer, at least half of the right answer. I am going to rent a scooter. I'm picking up a 125cc Honda Click tomorrow morning, and I rented it for 1 week to start. We'll see how that goes. I'll do some exploring around here, and if it goes well, and I assume it will, I'll probably rent it for a longer period of time. And I have this idea of, for Christmas, which is coming up quite quickly, I thought I would get on this scooter and go to the nearby historical site of Sukhothai. I should have checked how to pronounce that before I started this video, but there's a historical site near here. I believe it's called Sukhothai, and I haven't done all of my reading yet, but I believe it is the original capital city for the Kingdom of Thailand. And it isn't that far away, maybe 120 kilometers just on the other side of Tak City. So I thought, rather than being here in Mae Sot for Christmas, I would get on the road, do a little bit of a road trip with this scooter, drive to Tak City, perhaps spend a night or two there, and then drive to Sukhothai, spend 2 or 3 days there, exploring the historical site, the ruins of Sukhothai. I don't want to talk too much about that right now, because I'll save that for when I go there. And there are a variety of other places in the the countryside around Mae Sot, and I thought I would use my scooter, my new rented scooter, to kind of break out of Mae Sot a little bit and do some exploring in the countryside. And as I mentioned earlier, the other winner is Alex Malcolm, because he did say in his comment that I would be renting a motor vehicle. So that is also pretty much a correct answer, I decided, because a scooter really is a motor vehicle. Let's see what some other people came up with as answers to my question of what new activity am I going to do in Mae Sot this week. Mondo Mondo said, "You're breaking out your Speedos and going for some long-distance breaststroke swimming at the local Mae Sot pool or the Moy River." No. Not that I have anything against swimming. I'm actually a big swimmer. I grew up in a part of Canada beside the Great Lakes. My hometown is Sarnia, Ontario, and that's right on Lake Huron and the St. Clair River. And much of my childhood was spent in the water, going to the beach at Lake Huron, and my mother signed me up for swimming lessons at the local Jackson pool. So I was in the water from a very young age, and very comfortable in the water, so I love to go swimming. I don't generally go to public pools, though. It's not something I do as a rule. I do love to get into the ocean if I can and go snorkeling. Haven't done that for a long time, so that would be nice. But if I do any of that swimming, I guarantee you it will never be in a Speedo. It'll be board shorts for me. The longer, the better. No Speedos for this cycling Canadian. Larry T had an interesting answer. He said, you will video record interviewing or just asking questions of people on the streets or coffee shops in Mae Sot about their daily lives. And I like that idea because it is something that I've often thought about doing. Even before I was shooting videos, I just had a website where I was posting pictures and I was writing, kind of like journal entries about my experiences on the road. And I often thought I wanted to talk to local people more and even interview them. And I tried to come up with ways of doing that. There's a few problems with that, of course. You've got the language barrier. Here in Thailand, I find the language barrier is pretty strong. So it would be pretty rare for me to stumble across anyone who spoke English well enough that I could interview them about their daily life. I'd have to have an interpreter to do that. And that's a lot more organization and making it much more official than I really wanted to do. And of course, interviewing someone about their daily life is a little bit personal. So I was never quite comfortable with just talking to strangers and saying, hey, can I talk to you about your life? And I'm going to put it on the internet for everyone to see. Maybe people are willing to do that. I don't know. But I never did get around to actually doing that. I had this one interesting idea that since so many people around the world are studying English and wishing to practice their English, I had this crazy idea that I could just put a little table and a chair in a park somewhere and have a sign that said, ask me a question in English or talk to me in English. And anybody walking by could just come to this table, sit down across from me, and we could have a chat in English. And I could just meet local people that way, or practice your English. Come, and sit beside me and have a chat. And it's one of the strange things that I might do in my life. I've done a few weird things like that from time to time. It just always seemed like it would be a fun thing to do. I always think of Lucy from the Peanuts cartoon, where she had a little table set up outside where she gave psychiatric advice. I forget, what did her sign say? It said something like, the doctor is in, or something like that. And then Charlie Brown would come and sit and talk to her, and she would give advice for poor Charlie Brown about his life. And I always pictured myself as the traveling English teacher setting up a table in the park with a sign, talk to me in English, or practice your English here. And then anyone could just come up and talk to me, and we could talk about anything they wanted to. So I have had a similar idea in the past. The Burmese dude says, Doug will become a ninja. He says that's his wild guess. And that's definitely a wild guess, because I could never become a ninja. Though, when I was living in Korea, I did sign up for Taekwondo lessons. Just one of those things you feel like as a foreigner overseas. I'm here in Korea, and Taekwondo is obviously very popular in Korea, and I wanted to get some exercise, and I signed up for Taekwondo lessons, and that did not last very long. I had an accident. I was riding a bike in Seoul at the time, and I rode my bike to the gym for my Taekwondo lessons. And just a few weeks into my lessons, I was going down a very steep hill on my bike, going very fast, and I wasn't paying attention, and someone ahead of me opened their car door, and I wasn't able to avoid it. I slammed right into the car door, went flying head over heels. It was one of those slow motion Superman moments where I was flying through the air and my brain was thinking, oh man, this is bad. Oh man, this is really going to hurt when I land. And I spun over in the air, landed on my back, and I was wearing a knapsack at the time, and I landed right on the knapsack, and it kind of bent my back backwards and kind of threatened to sort of break me in half over my backpack when I landed on the ground. And though I didn't do any real damage to my body, I really kind of jacked up my back when I landed, and I really wasn't able to do the Taekwondo lesson that day, because Taekwondo is all about flexibility. It's all about bending your legs and your back in really extreme ways so that you can kick high above your head. And as fond as I am of my body, it does everything I want it to do, riding a bike or hiking, walking. It is not flexible. This is not a body that bends. It is not suitable for Taekwondo. And even though I'd hurt my back quite badly, I did go to the lesson, and I explained to the instructor that I can't really do much today because I hurt myself. But a Taekwondo instructor is, he's a tough dude, and he just sort of forced me to try to bend still and do all the really hard exercises. And it was too much. And the Taekwondo lessons kind of petered away. So no ninja, but I did take Taekwondo briefly in my life. Moving on, longtime viewer and frequent commenter Petrang, he said, go on a epic bicycle tour. Also a very good answer. I do call myself the cycling Canadian still, even though I haven't been on a bicycle for a long time, and I haven't gone on a bike tour for a long time. So the idea that I would go on a bike tour is a very good guess, but no. Instead, I'm turning into a scooter guy. And when you think about it, it'll probably work out better if I could rent a touring bicycle and rent pannier bags. Then it would be an option to go for a bike tour, but you can't really do that. I'd have to buy a new bike, buy new pannier bags and all new tools and equipment, and that's just too complicated and too expensive. But it's quite easy to rent a scooter. So I'm going on a scooter tour, not a bicycle tour. Wizard Phone says, you're going to walk backwards. No, I don't think I'll be walking backwards. Sometimes, oddly enough, when I'm walking around and I find out that the sun is behind me, so I'm backlit, and it may not look very good on the GoPro, I'll actually turn around and walk in the other direction. So now I'm walking into the sun, so the sun is in my face, and then I'm nicely lit up for the camera. So in a sense, I've turned around and I'm now going backwards in the other direction, but I'm still walking forwards. But it is a good suggestion because I did just watch the movie Tenet, and as everyone might know, Tenet is all about time and going backwards in time in a special way. So I still have time travel on my mind all the time. Tai Wook Kang, or Tai Wook Kang, he says, is it buying a computer in Mae Sot? And lately, I have seen a couple of laptops that caught my eye because I would end up buying kind of a budget laptop, but I was waiting for the new laptops to show up with the AMD Ryzen processors. Back when I was looking into laptops a few months ago, none of these seemed to be available in Thailand, but they're showing up now. So I have seen some kind of budget laptops with Ryzen processors. So they kind of interest me, but for now I'm going to stick with the smartphone. Seems to be working out okay, just having a smartphone and not having a laptop at all. But in the future, I'll probably end up with a laptop, but who knows? Maybe I'll find I never need one again. Then I can do everything with a smartphone. The Alloy looks like a couple on YouTube. They said, "You're moving out of the green guest house." And no, as it turns out, I think I'm going to stay based in Mae Sot at the green guest house for a while longer, especially now that I have this idea to rent a scooter and go off on these trips. So yeah, it's kind of a handy thing. I will keep even if I go on the scooter somewhere for a week or even 2 weeks, I'm going to keep my room at the green guest house, leave all my stuff there, take only what I need for the trip, and then after the trip, come back to Mae Sot on the scooter, settle in at the guest house, maybe finish a couple of videos, post them, and then perhaps I'll hit the road again on the scooter. So I'm going to stay based in Mae Sot and perhaps do little trips out around the countryside. My cafe latte in a pitcher has arrived. I actually already had one of these sitting on the inside, and since I knew I would be staying here longer, I ordered a second one. Yeah, they do a nice job on their iced latte here at Braverly. I like this a lot, and I love the presentation in the pitcher. Well, what other answers did people have? Here's an interesting one from Rai Bhattacharya. Rai Bhattacharya or Ray Bhattacharya. I really apologize for my pronunciation of names, but there's nothing I can do about that. I'm bad enough with languages in general. Other than English, I'm very good with English, but other languages I struggle with. And names, yeah, names are hard for me. Well, he says, "Are you going to the Mae Sot hot springs and cave? That's where I would go. It sounds awesome." And that's interesting because now that I have a scooter available to me, and if the right time presents itself, I probably will go there. I wasn't really aware of this place until he mentioned it. Then I looked it up on Google Maps, and it's quite close to Mae Sot, maybe 20 kilometers away. And just as with swimming, I'm not a big fan of hot springs like saunas. I wouldn't climb into a hot spring and just lie there in the hot water and soak for a while. I kind of get bored when I do that, so I probably wouldn't go to a hot springs normally for the hot spring experience. I'm not going to be stripping down to my Speedos and jumping into the hot water, but it would be an interesting day trip. I mean, I would go there just for the experience of driving there on the scooter, looking at the hot springs, walking around, taking some video, getting the whole hot spring experience, maybe getting that sulfur smell you sometimes get from water bubbling up out of the earth, and then drive back into Mae Sot again. So I didn't have any plans to go there, but now that you suggested it, I probably will. Loy Khan guesses, "I guess you are going to date a beautiful lady." And that's also a very good guess. It would make sense. I am a single guy here in Mae Sot, and there are, of course, a lot of beautiful women in Thailand. But no, that is not my plan for this week. I am going to turn to another love of my life, a two-wheeled love, a scooter. I'm not going out on a date this week. Tim Bim Jim, he says, "You're going to buy a new shirt?" Question mark. It's also a very good guess. In my life, of course, I pretty much have 3 shirts. This blue one, an identical or similar red one, and then I have one shirt with buttons that I wear when I go to immigration and places like that. And for my lifestyle, to be honest, even 3 shirts is too many. I could get by with 2, because for me, I could wear the same shirt every day. I just rinse it out at night, wash it once a week, rinse it out daily, that kind of thing. And it's quick dry material, so I could just step into the shower with it, rinse it off at the end of the day to get the salt out of it, the salt sweat, and by the morning it would be dry and ready to go again. So I really only need 1 shirt and then 1 other shirt to go to immigration. But 2 shirts, 3 shirts, wow, now we're getting pretty crazy. So I don't really need to buy a 4th one, but you never know. That could happen someday, but not this week. Vinay Birbal says, you are going to a cooking class at Borderline. It's also a good suggestion. As I've mentioned a few times, they do offer cooking classes at Borderline in traditional Burmese dishes. I don't know whether they're scheduled right now, because of course there are no tourists moving through Mae Sot at the moment. But if you showed up with a group of people and you wanted to do a cooking class, I'm sure they would arrange one for me if I wanted to do it. And, you know, of course, that would be an interesting thing to do. It's not a big interest of mine, cooking and learning how to cook, because whatever I learned, I would probably never put it into practice, especially if I'm still kind of wandering around as I'm doing now without a home. I have no kitchen, so I couldn't really cook anyway. But it is a good suggestion, just not this week. Beton says, I guess you're going to a river tour. And that's also a pretty good suggestion. I don't know what the possibilities are in Thailand in general or this region for a river tour, but I do hear a lot about a famous waterfall nearby, and people tell me that it is, I think, the tallest waterfall in all of Thailand. It's supposed to be spectacular, and if there's that much water going over a waterfall, maybe there's also rafting on the river. As I said in my reply to his comment, when I was living in Canada during what feels like another lifetimes ago, I did go on wilderness canoe trips in Canada. It's quite popular in Canada, especially in northern Ontario, where there are, I think, literally thousands of lakes and rivers. It's quite a special part of the world. But if you're into wilderness canoeing, there's endless opportunities for that in northern Ontario and northern Manitoba, other parts of Canada. So there was a time I was living in Toronto, and I joined a canoeing club which organized weekend canoe trips to the north, and I joined them, though I kind of preferred to go on my own trips. So I did arrange a couple of canoeing trips with camping gear. You go out into the north, and you have a starting point with maps and a tent and food and everything you're going to need, and then you canoe for a few days following a route that you picked out in advance, and you come around in a loop back to your starting point, get back in your car, and then drive back to Toronto. So I did do that, and I loved it. Actually, it was a really enjoyable experience. And had I stayed in Toronto, if my life there had continued, it's a possibility that I would have continued doing canoe trips throughout my life and gotten into whitewater canoeing and that kind of thing. So, yeah, going on a river tour or whitewater rafting in Thailand, it's not a bad idea. Jean Jan says, you will join Joel on a food tour and appear on his vlog. That is a good guess too, because it could easily have happened. I've been in contact with Joel a little bit just through the YouTube commenting system. And he was here recently on a bike tour that he was on around Thailand, and he checked out a bunch of the restaurants here. And if he ever comes back to Mae Sot, I would love to meet up with him. We can talk about food, or we can talk about YouTube. He uses a GoPro. He's a GoPro guy, and I'm a GoPro guy. We can talk about GoPros. And if he wanted to put me on his vlog, film us while we're chatting, I'd be fine with that. I obviously don't mind being on camera. So that could easily have happened, but no, that is not what I'm doing this week. Maybe another week if Joel ever comes back to Mae Sot. And there are quite a few comments saying that I'm going to buy treats for the dogs of Mae Sot. And DD2 says you'll adopt a puppy to scare the strays. So a lot of comments about how I'm going to deal with the stray dogs here in Mae Sot who keep barking at me as I walk around. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, perhaps, I did buy a bag of dog treats, and I tried to give one to my favorite puppy over at the police impound lot, but beyond licking it a couple of times, he had absolutely no interest in that. So even though buying treats for the dogs of Mae Sot was not what I had planned for this week, I think it is a good idea. So I do have a bag of treats now, and I'm ready to feed any dog I come across. If they don't like this treat, I'll try one more style and see if they like it a little bit better than that one. So that's a good suggestion too. Stanley Chin, he says, getting a massage. Also a kind of a very good answer, because there are massage places here in Mae Sot. I walk by them all the time, and I know getting a massage is a big part of life in Thailand in general, for local people and for foreign visitors who come to Thailand. Tourists often get a Thai massage. And years and years and years ago, couldn't even tell you what year, again, it feels like it was another lifetime, on a trip to Thailand in Bangkok, I did get a traditional Thai massage. And I'm thinking now that that is the only time in my life I've gotten a commercial massage at a massage parlor. And I have to say, I didn't enjoy the experience at all. Just the whole thing of being in this massage parlor. There were a whole bunch of other people lying on these mats, and then you're there being massaged by someone you don't know. It just wasn't for me. And at the same time, I honestly didn't know what to expect with a Thai massage. I don't know anything about massages in general. There seem to be different types of them. The Thai massage, maybe the Swedish massage. That's as far as my knowledge of massages go. But I think this woman gave me a traditional Thai massage, and I have one word to describe it: painful. It hurt so bad. There was very little pleasure in it. It wasn't like, oh, that feels so good, work the tension out of my shoulders. No, she was grabbing my legs and my arms and just bending me and twisting me in ways my body doesn't twist. And I found it hurt. It was really painful, and I could not wait for it to be over. And after that massage experience, I was like, no, I'll never do that again. So getting a massage in Thailand, yeah, it's something that people do, but not me. Daniel Boucher says, make a video entirely with your new cell phone. And that's also a very good answer, because the whole subject of shooting video with a GoPro versus a real camera versus using an iPhone or an Android phone, it comes up a lot. What is the best way to shoot videos? Whether a GoPro is good, whether shooting on a smartphone would be better in some ways. And it's a good answer too, because I did just buy a brand new smartphone. I bought the Xiaomi Redmi Note 9 Pro, very long name. And I found out that it shoots much better video than my old phones. And I did last Saturday, in fact, I went out with my new phone and I did try to shoot a video using the phone. I just wanted to try it out and see how it worked for me. And from beginning to end, it was a complete disaster. I hated everything about it. I hate the ergonomics of a smartphone. I hate the way you press buttons. I hate the giant screen sitting in your grip and walking. I dislike everything about shooting video with a phone of any kind. I just don't like it. And on top of that, the video that I ended up with from my Xiaomi, it wasn't very good. There was all kinds of things wrong with it. I think if you have a flagship Samsung or a flagship iPhone, you're going to get quite good video. Probably easily as good as anything I would get from a GoPro, but my phone is kind of a mid-ranger, and I don't think the camera is quite as good as those in a flagship. So the quality of the video wasn't appealing to me, and the experience of using the phone was also not much fun. And anyway, in terms of answering the question, I did try to shoot video with my phone, but I did it last week before the comment contest. I did it on Saturday, and I set up this contest on Sunday, the next day. So it is something new that I did in Mae Sot, but I already did it just before the contest. Another answer, Andy Tan, longtime viewer, frequent commenter. Hello, Andy. He suggests you volunteer at teaching English at a special restaurant. And that is a good guess too, because I am an English teacher by trade. It's something I've done quite a bit in my life. And I really enjoy helping people get better at English. I'm still in contact with some people in Taiwan that I used to work with, and they are all English editors and translators, and I love it when they send me a question about an English idiom or an English expression, something that they don't understand, and I can help them with that. And interestingly enough, at Borderline, the restaurant here in Mae Sot that I go to quite frequently, there is a man from the Netherlands who spends a lot of time there and is helping out at Borderline. He is giving English lessons to the staff at Borderline on a volunteer basis. A few times when I've been there, I've seen him at a table with a group of the staff, and they're having English lessons at the table. So it is something that is a possibility, even at a restaurant. As I said, this man from the Netherlands is doing exactly what you suggest. But that was not my idea for this week. I will get you there. Also, longtime viewer, frequent commenter. You are going to enjoy a hamburger for the first time in Mae Sot, and you are going to dress up for that. That's an interesting comment, because I did, in fact, enjoy the hamburger for the first time in Mae Sot, and I did kind of dress up for that, because last Saturday night, I went back to the Passport, that fancy fine dining experience that I had a week before at the Hospitality and Catering Training Center. The Passport is part of this training center in hospitality for young people here in Thailand. And they put on a burger night last Saturday night. And on the menu was Greek salad, which was amazing. Who knew I loved Greek salad? A Mexican spicy chicken burger with homemade guacamole with made from avocado, sweet potato fries, and for dessert, cheesecake with a salted caramel sauce. Amazing meal, and loved it very much. So I did, in fact, have a hamburger here in Mae Sot for the first time, I think, and I put on my fancy shirt for the evening. And that's the night, actually, I tried to shoot video using this phone, my new Xiaomi, and it just did not work out at all, and I just gave up. Plus, a friend of mine showed up at the restaurant just by accident. He showed up there, and he joined me at my table, so we had our meal together, and I just stopped filming. So there's no video vlog of that evening, but it was very nice, my return to the passport. Rex T has a good suggestion. Since you are in the gallery, I can only guess you are going to break out the brushes and acrylics and start painting. A hobby, so to speak. He also suggests photography. Good suggestion, and but as I said in my reply to his comment, I have no artistic skill at all. I have so little skill. I mean, I can barely draw a triangle or a circle or a square. People who can sit down, just take a blank piece of paper and draw a face or a human figure or anything at all, they astonish me, because I can't even conceive of how you do it. I don't know how your brain works, that you can actually just draw something on paper. I don't know how. I have no clue how you do it. It seems like magic to me. So the chances of me ever even trying to, like, signing up for a painting class or a drawing class, I'd probably never do it, because there seems to be no point. There are a lot of things that I'm not very good at. I don't know anything about. As I said in his comment, I'm no good at archery. I'm no good at boxing. I can't play the piano. I can't play the guitar. I can't sing. But I could sign up for classes, I think, and learn how to do those things, at least the basics. I would never be good at them, but I could learn the basics. But when it comes to drawing, no. I would never in a million years be able to draw. It's just, my brain can't do it. So I would never, I don't think I would ever start painting. This is a really good one. From Brett Hall. Brett Hall, you might remember, he sent me my famous ice cube tray, which I'm still enjoying to this day. It hasn't featured in any videos lately, but I'm still enjoying my ice cube tray very much. And he says, visit the Thai Unity Temple. I love this suggestion, because once I get my scooter, or even without my scooter, I'm definitely going to do that. Once he made that suggestion, it occurred to me, why haven't I gone to this temple yet? Because the Thai Unity Temple is a beautiful, very well-known temple here in Mae Sot. It's 4 or 5 kilometers away, near the immigration office, in fact, near the Friendship Bridge leading into Myanmar. And I kind of walked by the gates of the temple, or drove by it multiple times, and I'm always looking over at that temple thinking I should go there sometime. And I've never gone. I've never made the effort to go. So his suggestion really put the idea in my head that I must visit the Thai Unity Temple. To be here in Mae Sot this long and not have gone to that temple is kind of silly. So I will be going to the Thai Unity Temple very soon, perhaps before Christmas. Might be one of my day trips coming up. Weblog Saigon says, visit the Herbal Sauna in Buddhist temple. That's also a very good idea as an experience that you could have here in Mae Sot. But it's similar to what I said about hot springs. I'm just not a hot springs guy, and I'm not a sauna guy either. I mean, I might do something like that just to have the experience, but I wouldn't really get any pleasure out of it. To soak in a hot tub, to sit in a hot room and just sweat. It's not really my thing. Though, there was a time in Canada, I just realized, where I was working at a ski resort in the Rocky Mountains. The place was called Sunshine Village, very famous ski resort in Canada. And I worked there for a couple of winters as, your basic ski bum. I had a job running the chairlifts, and we had access to an outdoor hot tub. So as employees, we could use this outdoor hot tub, and that was amazing. We would actually, at the end of the day, at night, climb into this hot tub and soak in this, practically boiling water. And then when we got really hot, we could just jump off the edge and jump into the snow on the mountain, roll around in the snow, get really, really cold, and then we could jump back in the hot water again. And that combination was, that was amazing. So I did enjoy that. And I remember some very good evenings in that outdoor hot tub in the wintertime, jumping in the snow, then back into the hot water and back in the snow again. But here in this climate, in this hot weather, to go into a hot sauna, I don't know, it doesn't really appeal to me, but I could do it as just as an experience. If I found someone who could show it to me, like I wouldn't even know how to show up at a temple and say, can I have a sauna in your herbal sauna? I don't know how you do that, but it's a possibility, just not this week. Jorge A says, you are going on a helicopter tour. Very good suggestion. Trust me, if there was a helicopter tour here and it wasn't outrageously expensive, I would definitely do it. Helicopters are incredible. As I mentioned in my reply to his comment, I had the chance a few times in Canada to ride in a helicopter. This was when I was tree planting for a summer. You can make money as a part-time, as a seasonal job in Canada, where they do logging and they clear cut all the trees from a mountainous area in the Rockies, and then you go in with a company and you replant the whole area. And it's tree planting. Very tough job, brutally hard job, just about killed me. And sometimes, in order to get you to where you're planting the trees, it's so remote, they fly you in by helicopter. And they dump you off there for the day, and then at the end of the day, the helicopter comes in and picks you up and flies you out. So that was an incredible experience, because helicopters are nothing like airplanes. Sure, they go up in the air and they fly around, but they move entirely differently. And it's really hard to wrap your head around how they're moving. And when you get into one, the feeling is really extraordinary to be in a helicopter and just going straight up off the ground. And then they bank the helicopter and then move it. It's just weird. It's a strange, strange feeling. And just being in a helicopter and seeing all the controls around you, it's an incredible experience. So, but here, as far as I'm aware, there are no helicopter tours. We're right on the border with Myanmar, and I think because we're in a border area, there would be no possibility of a helicopter tour anyway. If I had a little Mavic Mini drone, that would be cool. Then I could send the drone up away from the prying eyes, far away from the border, and get some aerial shots of Mae Sot. That would be very cool, but there's no drone in my life as of now. Haslin Moyne says, are you going for a trekking expedition? And no, not really. I was thinking about going for some long walks in this area, even much longer than the walks I've been taking in Mae Sot. But I switched gears mentally, and now I'm all about scooter trips instead of trekking expeditions. Mars Likes Puns says, you're going to use the kitchen in the guest house to cook a meal for yourself or for your landlord. A good suggestion. I have not cooked anything other than spaghetti, noodles, boiled eggs. Yeah, it's about it for a very long time. So cooking a real meal would be, I wouldn't even know how to begin anymore. It's been so long since I've had a kitchen, I wouldn't even know what to do in a kitchen. Longtime viewer, frequent commenter, Rain 7 mic, all I can think of is some special festival is happening that I can go to. And if there were a festival, I'd probably go. But there is no festival. Though there is a carnival, now that I think about it. Last Saturday night, a friend of mine drove me back to my guest house from the Passport restaurant, and he took me past the nightlife district just to show it to me, which I had no idea was here in Mae Sot. They have a nightlife district I didn't even know about. And there was a carnival, like a traveling nighttime carnival, set up in a big field. And I had no idea it was here either. So it's not really a festival, but it is a carnival. I don't know if it's still here, but it might be something to go check out this week. But that was not what I had planned for the week. Sunny and Bunny says, you will go to watch the sunset. Sunsets are nice. I could always go to watch a sunset. Though I prefer to kind of stumble across them. Same thing with sunrises. I do see a lot of sunrises because I just wake up early, and when you're on a bike tour, you're naturally up and moving before dawn, and you see sunrise almost every day that you're on a bike tour. And then I enjoy the sunrises and sunsets if you're camping or something like that. But I don't generally go out of my way to go see the sunset. I just sort of see enough of them in my day-to-day life that I don't make a special effort to go to the beach and see a sunset. If I happen to be at the beach, I might see one, but I wouldn't plan to do that in advance, I don't think. Beth and Paul suggest maybe you'll be going to a Christmas night market. I hadn't even thought about that. I don't know if there are any Christmas activities here in Mae Sot. A few of the places I go to, like the coffee shops, they do have, like Braverly has a Christmas tree set up right now. And when I went to the Passport on Saturday night for a burger night, they had a Christmas theme going on. The staff were all wearing Santa hats, and they had Christmas lights. And I believe there were Christmas carols playing inside the main restaurant. So there's a little bit of Christmas spirit going on here, but I'm not aware of any kind of a Christmas night market. I'll have to look into that. A lot of people made the same answer to my question. Very similar. They all said that I'm going to do a live stream or a live Q&A for my YouTube channel for everyone watching the videos. A lot of people said that. It was probably the most common answer. And yeah, I mean, it is something I could do someday. I hadn't really thought about it that much for a couple of reasons. One is that I'm a little bit exhausted when it comes to technology. All of my technology adventures with smartphones, with cameras, with computers, with my laptop, I'm kind of exhausted. And the thought of learning how to do a live stream, figuring out how you do it and what apps you need and getting it to work. And yet probably there's a trial and error procedure for getting it to work properly. I'm just sort of like, it kind of makes me so tired just even thinking about it right now. Anyway, it is a popular thing for people on YouTube to do. And I could see doing it someday. It's a new thing to have some fun with. But that was not the answer for this week. The answer for this week, of course, was renting a scooter. And that kind of takes me to the end of most of the comments there. Whew. Still enjoying my iced latte. So I'm going to leave Braverly pretty soon. Head back out into Mae Sot. I've got to do a couple of things to prepare for tomorrow for picking up my scooter. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. I, of course, will have the GoPro running to record my first impressions of my scooter and, yeah, seeing what new adventures the scooter will bring into my life. Okay, I think that is it for today, and I will see you in the next video. She seems more interested in the snack this time around, or more interested in my fingers. There you go. Oh, she took it this time. I noticed the other one was kind of dirty in the sand. So she's sort of curious about them, but no, they're not to her taste. I think she gets good food from her human, so she doesn't need these